Hey there, Internet. Felix Finch here, and welcome back to Underground Lucha Things, a Lucha Underground retrospective where I, despite having been in ring with many of these talents, just never watched the show, so I'm making up for it about 5 years later. But you know what? It helps to have somebody that is a little more experienced than I, someone that kind of knows what they're talking about. So that's why I brought along my friend all the way from the bird-filled island of Hawaii, Angie FN, mid-card mana. Angie, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Always fun to talk about Underground Lucha kind things.
Yeah, so
especially this episode 14.
Yeah, episode 14, which apparently we both discovered because like I had it written down as one title, and then I looked on my 2b.tv and I noticed it was on another title. So depending on where you go, this has one of two titles. The one I saw was a Shot of El Patron on Tubi, but when I was trying to look up the date on Wikipedia, it had it as Open Mic Night.
Open Mic Night.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm wondering if it was maybe called Open Mic Night before they actually called it a Shot of El Patron to not give away the fact that he was there. I don't know. Like, were you legitimately surprised by Alberto? I mean, besides the last episode, were you legitimately surprised by him showing up?
Kind of, because I knew at the time he was fighting a little bit more in AAA in Mexico. So I didn't think that he was also going to be venturing to another promotion in the United States quite just yet, because of what he talks about later in this episode when he talks about his experience in AAA, which we'll save for when we get to that part of the segment.
Yeah, I'll save that as well. But we do start off in Alberto in Dario's office, and he immediately notices his key and asks what it opens. And he does say that he has one request. He would like to have some time to get something off his chest on the mic. So that's going to be our main event, and I think this is probably going to be our first like non-match main event. So that's kind of interesting. We're getting to close with a promo. But to open this up, we have Argenis versus Fenix, and this is awesome. High-flying, high-action match, and it is amazing to see what Fenix can do off of the ropes. Like, Katrina makes her way down to the ring and just seems to kind of be watching from ringside. And the match ends with Fenix reversing a tombstone into a pile driver of his own. And Katrina, post-match, crawls into the ring, just slithers, and stares down Fenix as she licks Argenis.
Yeah, gives him the lick of death, sort of, which we've seen only with opponents of Mil Muertes. So interesting to see this shift, perhaps, in allegiance and loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, we did get them making out either last episode or the episode before, I forget which one. But yeah, so I'm curious where they're taking this Katrina, Mil, Fenix triangle of sorts. And
triangle, get it?
Yeah. Like a triangle of death, a death triangle, a terrible, terrible name for a...
Oh man, I forgot about that. I was just doing his whole Animo
thing. Yeah, no, the death triangle, which is currently with Pac kind of not able to come to the States, isn't really a thing. It's happening. But that will date this episode. We're still in the middle of Plague. So we get Katrina and Mil in a dark location somewhere around the temple. I don't know if they're in the temple. I don't know if they're in a park shooting hoops at night. I do not understand the layout of this location. But wherever they are, Katrina tries to give Mil some guidance, and he decides to lift her up by her neck, by her throat, and declare that he needs nothing. And she keeps that smirk as he slowly lowers her back to the ground. I loved that shot. And as Mil leaves this poorly lit area, he goes into the poorly lit hallway where he runs into Chavo, and the two have a small scuffle as he tells Chavo that next week he pays his debt.
Yes. Now, not to go too far back, but I liked the point that Katrina made where she says to Mil that 1,000 lives, because Mil Muertes is 1,000 deaths, right? So 1,000 lives was more powerful than 1,000 deaths. And then after that, he yells "I need nothing" and chokes her. Then he also goes and chokes Chavo. Mil Muertes is on a rampage at this point. He can see that things are changing around him and turning against him, so he's kind of unsure as to, or to me, I get the feeling like he's unsure of what his next step in his relationship is going to be with Katrina, because now she's starting to question him.
It is very interesting, and like I said, we've seen that there's this also apparent attraction with Fenix going on, and how Mil doesn't know this is beyond me. I guess he doesn't watch the show. I always love when someone's able to keep things from someone else.
Right.
But we also go into another like small promo, and we're in a confessional, and it turns out we hear the voice and see the silhouette of Big Rick, and he says that he has to destroy 3 Judases who have betrayed him. At least they're a Judas in his mind, but I
loved this segment.
Yeah,
I loved everything about it. Like, it made him look like the terrifying monster now face coming after these guys that screwed him. I'd be scared. I'd be scared.
Yeah, and I love some of his wording here, saying like he promises he will not spill innocent blood, which is clearly him talking about what's going on. Again, I absolutely love it, and he does give a breakdown of why each man must be dealt with individually, and says something about them, and which
is beautiful.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very well done. And as they finish, he says that vengeance is his.
It was such a great segment. I think that was probably, honestly, my favorite part of the whole episode. Like how they usually have some sort of video packages and vignettes that how I felt about them, where I felt like they didn't really work, or the toning was kind of off or whatnot. I thought that one was perfect. I thought that was absolutely, it hit all the spots it needed to hit. Yeah, that was just great.
No, I absolutely agree. And we go into our next match, Son of Havoc with Ivelisse. And she says that he's finally getting some competition. And who's that competition going to be? It's going to be Johnny Mundo.
Johnny Mundo.
But
I wrote down here, Son of Havoc fighting Mundo. Wow, Ivelisse gonna leave you after you lose. And I've said it, and I've said mixed things. I feel like there's still great opportunities for every person that steps into the temple where they get an opportunity to shine. You don't really see that many squash matches. But if there's ever a consistent person that's like that middle of the card jobber that gets just enough time to develop character but still gets destroyed, it's Son of Havoc.
Yeah, for sure. There's a very interesting thing here, though. He gets a lot of offense, but they give an excuse why. That's the weird thing is it's almost like he shouldn't. We know it's weird that he's getting this much against one of our top stars, but here's why. There's an injured leg in play. So clearly he knows about the injured leg, because unlike Mil, apparently Son of Havoc watches the show and pays attention to what's going on. So he's targeting that leg. Mundo is actually forced to be more grounded than usual, although he does still have a size advantage over Son of Havoc. And Son of Havoc has Mundo dead to rights at a point, and he probably could have pinned him for a 20 count. But he takes too long, and Mundo gets the knees up when he tries to get a shooting star, and delivers an end of the world for the win, and maybe one of the best end of the worlds I've ever seen, because it lands on something. Like, his body lands on the other guy's body, which be the end goal of that move every time, isn't always what happens. So, good job aiming for center mass. However, at the end of the match...
And beautiful moment that I liked, that they were dueling chants through the match. you didn't feel like it was that one-sided from the audience. There were people cheering for Son of Havoc.
Yeah,
what a concept.
Like, I like this crowd because I would love to, if I could have like a tenth of this crowd at every show, I'd be so happy because they seem to just love wrestling there. And it is cool. I wish I could. This makes me really wish I could have been at the temple at some point. But we get King Cuerno rushing down and attacking Johnny Mundo post-match with some precision kicks and thrill of the hunt. So I'm guessing this may be the start of a new feud. Maybe the hunter has found some new prey. He's done with Drago and off to Mundo. And we talk about one thing that kind of should have been a squash match. Here is kind of a true squash match. It's up next. Ricky Mandel versus Pentagon Jr. You know, Penta being fed the enhancement talent, and it ends with another arm break from Pentagon Jr. But what does make this interesting is Penta drops to his knees and declares that he has given his master one more sacrifice. So there seems to be a higher power in play. Is it me, Austin? We don't know. We might find out sometime soon. I don't know. There's really been no clue to this.
It's definitely interesting how you see Pentagon. Then we talked about a shift in allegiance with Katrina and Mil and Fenix. Now we see a shift in allegiance with Pentagon Jr. from Chavo to who knows who it could be.
I'm gonna guess that you have a clue, somewhat. Who can it be? This animal who I can't see. Can you help me guess this mystery? I don't know if you watched the Boobafoo, but
yes.
Okay, I had a lot of little cousins, so I know Zububufu was a little before my time, but a little after my time, but yeah, I still had to watch it.
I feel it.
And in our main event, we get Alberto Del Rio versus a microphone.
Yep.
And it's cool. He comes out there.
He gets the hero's welcome, man. He gets the hero's welcome in this.
He does, and I think it just might be my lack of familiarity with Lucha, but I did not realize just like how beloved by that community it seems that Alberto Del Rio truly is. Like, he has them eating out the palm of his hand, and he strips off his coat and tie. It says he's there with his friends and his family over in Lucha Underground. He discusses his past, shoots on WWE a little bit in Spanish. He doesn't mention WWE, but we all know who he's talking about. And declares a new revolution in Lucha Underground. And then he's being beaten by somebody, which they reveal to be Tejano, who is the guy.
Tejano.
Yeah, who is the guy that Alberto Del Rio beat for his AAA championship, which I also didn't realize he was AAA champion at this time. That at the time he's showing up to Lucha Underground.
Yep.
He had just won that championship in December.
That's why I was surprised. That's why I was surprised when he showed up, because I had just read about how he had just recently become AAA champion over in Mexico, and he had beaten Tejano. And so to me, that was really surprising that now he's going somewhere else when his championship reign is new. And then who comes and follows him to Lucha Underground? The man that he beat for the title, Tejano.
Yeah, and again, this was...
So I thought,
super well done. Yeah, super well done. I didn't realize this. I love that he's using a bull rope to beat down Alberto El Patron. He lifts Alberto's belt, which by the way, where did the belt come from? Because I did not notice it the entire I did not notice the AAA belt the entire time until the end when he lifts it up. So I'm gonna guess this means that at this time there must have been some sort of working there must have been some kind of working relationship between these two companies. And again, because I'm not aware of like what was happening at that time, if this is how they announced it, that's amazing. That is a great way to get eyeballs both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure as to how the logistics were to get both of those guys into Lucha Underground, but I can't imagine a better start for both of them. I mean, you can already tell they have the built-in feud right? El Patron. I was about to call him by his WWE name, but with El Patron having just beat Tejano for the title. So definitely a really cool way to introduce both of them, to establish their roles really clearly right off the bat. Tejano with the bull rope, right? Already something that's really distinct and kind of differentiates him from a lot of the other members of Lucha Underground.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, it was very cool because I'm not familiar with AAA. This is my introduction to Tejano, and this is my introduction to a lot of things involving AAA. Like, ironically enough, the person who has started like more introducing me to Lucha Libre is because it's funny, learning as a wrestler. It almost feels a bit like the Avatar cycle because I started I was here in America. I grew up watching American wrestling. One of my first trainers was British, and he gave me a bunch of British guys to watch. And then I had also early on found Japan and Japanese women's style and watched a lot of Japanese women. Now I'm like discovering Lucha Libre. So it's like I'm learning like a bit of all of this all together. So it's kind of cool that I'm starting to get this as well. And ironically, the person who started introducing me to that is Jesus Rodriguez. So
nice.
So I thought that was kind of fun. But what do you think of the episode overall?
Like I mentioned before, I liked the episode. My favorite part, definitely Big Rick talking about his journey towards revenge against the three Judases that betrayed him in the a couple episodes prior to this, burned his eye out with the cigar, right? And I think it really establishes him much differently than a lot of the other people that we see going in. And I think it's going to make him look, I don't think it already is making him look like $1 million as this new monster face that's going to come take out these three dudes.
And like I said, this episode was it was kind of cool. It's giving us something different. I like what they're building more with the story between Katrina. I think kind of our first shot, because I really didn't mention this during the review, but the shot of Katrina's heels being lifted off the floor and then coming back down, that's kind of our first hint of like a really like also hyper real, like not hyper realism, but a surrealism to it, the way this entire thing's presented. And I absolutely loved that. I thought it was pretty damn great, and I look forward to seeing more of kind of what's building throughout this. And the way they brought in Alberto, it makes me curious, like as people show up, like what method they're going to take, because here's someone with a very established name, and I know a lot of people really built themselves in Lucha Underground, so I'm kind of curious to see the path taken for established stars versus previous stars.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they work well together, and especially now as we look at where a lot of these performers are today, post Lucha Underground, where we see some of them went over to AEW, some were in Impact, some were in WWE, some went back to Mexico and did CMLL and AAA, getting to see all of that and see where all those cards fell after Lucha Underground, and did Lucha Underground help to propel them to the next level? Did it not? How did they work with the people that they were there with? There's so many dream matches already in Lucha Underground that today we would love to see, and then we look back and we're like, wait, we've already seen that. For example, Prince Puma and Fenix, right? Ricochet versus Fenix. A match that a lot of people saw that I don't think they realized they saw. Very interesting to note, not to divert or not to go too far away from Lucha Underground, but one of my friends that watched Lucha Underground before, his name is Chris, he was very familiar, and then he saw El Hijo del Fantasma in NXT, and only this week did he realize the two are the same person?
Yeah, I think I told you that I just recently figured out that he was King Cuerno. And I don't know if King Cuerno ever does Unmask. I know Phantasma did this week and is now under a different name of Santos Escobar, which sounds like a really bad telenovela villain. Like it sounds like someone had to create a villain for like a cartel series, and that's the name they came up with.
Yeah.
But anyway, Angie, let everybody know where to find you.
All right, guys. So I am part of a couple of different shows based here in Hawaii. First one is Midcard Mana. That's our main show. That's myself and my tag team partner, Sam Killer, the Wrestling Connoisseur. And we talk about kind of broad topics in wrestling, focusing this week, the episode that's going to be posted hopefully soon, depending on how well everything loads up on my end. As you can see, my internet is not great right now. But talking a little bit about heel-face dynamics, specifically focused in NXT. My next show that I'm on, which we talk a little bit more about sillier topics, is Valley Isle Collective Ringside. And it's me and a bunch of dudes on an island over in Maui. And we talk a little bit more about goofier stuff. You know, if you had to take a finisher from Haku, what would it be? What's your favorite entrance theme? Who's your favorite person that botches frequently? What's your favorite promo? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you can find me here on this channel, youtube.com/Frisco Flame. You can find me on Twitter at rfelixfinge or at Frisco Flame. You can find this show at Underground Lucha Things and check it out. We have merch. It's a little pin. See it? Yeah. And I've got other pins and pop sockets available at etsy.com/shop/Frisco Flame, or look up Underground Lucha Things on Etsy and you'll find it, or look up Frisco Flame on Etsy and you'll find it. I think it's kind of funny. I'm putting a link on my friscoflame.com to take you to the Etsy shop, but it allows me to take these and actually send them out through the mail, so that's very helpful. And I ship internationally. And also, yeah, we are available on any podcast app you choose to listen to. I think anything that draws from the iTunes store, for sure. We're also on anything that pulls from Spotify. Stitcher, I'm not so sure. Had trouble loading there. But you know what? I get it on CastBox, so I'm happy. Anyway, for Angie, for myself, peace out, party peoples. We will see you next time.
Bing, bing.